on team? It's Ricky with Techmo Solutions. I am here with Lenny, and one of the things that we're going to be doing today is a full walkthrough in one of the properties that Lenny is actually invested in. I'm just a hard money lender on this property, and he's going to be walking us through about how much he bought this property for, what is actually going into the property, and what he plans to sell it for, and his projected profit. So for all you aspiring flippers, I hope that this video gets you one step closer to your overall goal. So do you mind if you walk us through the very kind of first floor of this property?
Sure, yeah. So we've got a living room here, tall ceilings in this living room, which we painted and put carpet in, and then of course put the staging furniture in. Behind you here is an office, or people could use it for an office or whatever, but same thing, carpet and paint in this room as well.
Sweet. So when it comes down to the first floor, what upgrades have been done to it?
So the first floor was carpet, paint, and painting all the cabinets and changing all the door hardware.
Okay. The floor, if I'm not mistaken, the tile was just left the same, right? And like we saw outside, right now the house is almost kind of like this tannish, almost yellowish color.
Yep.
And one of the things that you're working on is actually painting it all white, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
White with a dark brown front door and gates and stuff. That's the community colors that were approved, because one of the things in an HOA, there's usually approved colors or not approved colors. So I went to the HOA and I actually got the approved colors for the association, and I picked a color that I liked from that palette that they had that was already approved, so I didn't have to go through the full entire approval process.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. And if I'm not mistaken, we got the first kind of downstairs half bathroom. Believe you kept the kind of wooden type of.
Now that wood was actually here, so we just kept it here as kind of a little accent.
Yeah.
So we just left it here. So it kind of adds a little bit to it.
Sweet. And then kind of a little formal dining room. Yeah.
Yep. And of course, kitchen and family room. Like I said, we painted all these cabinets, and we put up the tile backsplash in here to kind of make it brighter and a little bit more modern. And we've got handles that are coming for all the cabinets as well, which will make it feel a little bit more modern on top of that too.
And one of the things that, obviously the house is staged as of right now. One of the things that I think a lot of people would like to understand is that this house, was bought through an auction, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so it was bought through it was a foreclosure, so it was bought at the county. So at the county courthouse, they auction 5 days a week there, every day. So this was the property that was there. So it was actually foreclosed on and then sold at public auction. So anybody can go down to the auction and buy the properties there every day.
Okay,
Yep.
Sweet. So you said you did the upgrade on the backsplash. Very minimal upgrades in the kitchen, right? In comparison to something of this caliber, this is a pretty big kitchen, so not too much money.
Yeah, so we didn't get crazy with it. The cabinets were in good shape, so we left them. The old owners had actually painted them with just like a do-it-yourself kind of paintbrush.
Yeah.
So they didn't look good. They were really chalky. They didn't have that glossy finish like cabinets do.
Yeah.
And then inside of the cabinet doors were also just the original color. They didn't paint them. Yeah. So we had to sand them all and then paint all of them. Upstairs, we'll see when we get there, they just barely touched cabinets, like they were just testing.
Yeah.
So we had to sand all those and do the same thing. So it was like a homeowner project. So that's something, even in a lower, cheaper house, that know what you're doing, I guess, right? Don't go to Home Depot and think, oh yeah, I'm just going to do it, unless you actually know what you're doing, especially when it comes to cabinets.
Yeah.
Cabinets in a whole house like this, if you had to buy new ones, would be $20,000 to $30,000, and they essentially ruined the cabinets. I had to come back in and do all the painting and make them right.
Refurbish them, right?
Yeah. So they made more work, and if they were to sell it in the future by themselves, they wouldn't have got as much money for the house, because somebody would have probably come in and go, whoa, I have to replace all these cabinets. It's cost me $20,000 or $30,000. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, and when it comes down to the, if I'm not mistaken, that's just the washroom and stuff.
Yeah, that's just the laundry room there, and then it goes out to the garage that way.
Okay, sounds good. So then moving on upstairs, what has been, if anything, done upstairs?
So we put all new carpet in.
Okay.
The handrails, they did the same thing. They painted it with just a brush. we're trying to save them to make them look a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
And we painted all the interior of the house upstairs as well. And we
Okay.
did the cabinets upstairs, like I said, too.
Sweet. So new carpet, walls, and then these like old handles and stuff like that are all repainted, correct?
Yep. Yeah, they'll finish those. They just got to finish the touch up on them, but they're getting there. They look better than they did.
Yep. And then this house, tell us a little bit more about it. It's, if I'm not mistaken, a 4-bedroom.
Yep. It's a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathrooms.
And then it's a little bit under 3,800 square feet.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So they have 1 bedroom here, then this Jack and Jill bathroom. Goes to this other bedroom.
All right. So pretty much identical rooms, and then they share that Jack and Jill bathroom.
Yep. And the same thing, we painted all these too.
Cabinets.
This is one of the windows we had to replace. This window was broken.
Really?
I don't know what, kids must have broke it or something, I don't know, so we had to put a new window in.
Okay.
And you got 1 bedroom with an ensuite bathroom here.
Sweet. Okay.
So this is a little bit larger bedroom here, obviously, than the other ones are pretty small. But it has its own bathroom.
All right. And then we have the master, correct?
Master, yep.
I think they call it French door or something like that, right?
Yep. And I think I said we put all the hardware, oh, and all the ceiling fans. So again, this was a foreclosure, so the old owners, when they left, they took all the ceiling fans in every single room. They took them with them, so.
Really? Okay.
So one thing that you do have when you have a foreclosure, because I wasn't able to see in the house prior to actually bidding on it, I could only see the exterior by just driving by. So I had no idea what the inside looked like,
Yeah.
right? No clue. So once I got in here, found that it needed, carpet, paint, cabinets, all the ceiling fans, so a few more things than I had originally anticipated. So I originally anticipated being a lower budget. I didn't also anticipate having to paint the exterior,
Yeah.
but I had to though.
Okay. And what was your deciding factor of having to paint the exteriors? I didn't think it looked too bad. Was it just Arizona? It looked a little.
It was
warm?
faded and
Faded?
yeah, especially on the west side of the house, it was pretty faded.
Okay.
We thought we might be able to just paint part of it, but it just wasn't gonna look right
Yeah.
compared to everything else, yeah.
Sweet. So then we got the full master bathroom, dual sink, big walk-in closet. Oh, they're separate. Sweet.
Yeah,
So
two of them, yeah.
his and her, and then.
His and hers counters.
Yep.
Again, we painted the cabinets in here, we left all of this. We could absolutely have upgraded all of this stuff, but it's in good condition, as you can see.
Yeah.
So we left it to maximize our profit, because coming in and doing all of this stuff in this big a house would add up to tens of thousands of dollars.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was my biggest takeaway as of right now is that, at least in my experience in working with you, this is like the biggest hard money loan that I've ever done with you, right?
Yeah.
But also, this is also the, I think, best looking and more well put together house as well. Where, I think you did invest a lot of money into it, but in comparison to what it's worth, then I wouldn't say as much. I mean, Nick and I bought a $227,000 house and put $20,000 in upgrades. But we pretty much to think, if you had to change all the tile downstairs, right, or had to do even parts of the kitchen or the bathroom or anything like that, I feel like that would have added to tens of thousands.
Right, in this size of house, absolutely would add
Definitely.
a ton to it, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right, we had a very minimal amount that we had to do to this house compared to the other houses
Yeah.
that we've done. And as a matter of fact, another house that we're working on right now, we had to do a lot more to it. A lower price point, but this one was definitely a lot less that we had to do here.
Yeah, but just because of the size.
Yeah, and we had a pretty good spread on this one to start with.
Definitely.
So, we spent a little bit more than what we originally anticipated, but it was only because we didn't know the inside condition.
Mm-hmm.
We assumed based on looking at the exterior and knowing the neighborhood, but it's really not that bad. My
Yeah.
original, I think, was around $15,000, and I think I'm gonna be right around $22,000 total.
Okay.
So considering the price point of what it is, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could spend another $100,000 here if I wanted to.
Yeah, easy.
Right, really tricking it out and doing hardwood floors and all that kind of stuff. but there's no reason to. Most of these houses in this neighborhood, which is also knowing the neighborhood, a lot of them are just original. Like they have original paint, original carpet, original cabinets, everything in here. So that's what most buyers are buying in here anyhow, and that's the comparables or the comps that we have are based on that.
So I want to make sure you stay within the means, right, of what
Correct.
the average buyer is going to want.
There's been a couple that have been more upgraded that have sold for more money, but it would probably cost us in excess of at least another $50,000 to even get close to what those are. And then our resale price is probably only about $30,000
So
more.
the opportunity cost just isn't there.
Right. We can't even match our money on it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no reason for us to do it. We just need to go in and do minimal to the house to bring it up to nice and clean. Because again, this is going to be better than most of the houses in this neighborhood already. Because it's got brand new carpet, brand new paint, inside and out, all the doorknobs, all the new fans, everything like that.
Yeah.
All the other houses that are selling, like I said, are all original from 2003 is when this house was built.
Okay, sweet. All right, so one of the things that I did want to cover is before we head on out, I wanted to have a little bit of a better understanding of what the initial purchase price was, how much is actually, well, again, we can't give exact numbers because the property isn't done, but how much you plan to be totally invested in repairs, right?
Okay.
After closing costs, fees, and obviously hard money fees, and then when it comes down to selling it, what is the projected profit?
Okay, sure. So the purchase price was $527,000. Like I said earlier, I was anticipating around $15,000 rehab.
Yeah.
It looks like we're going to be right around $21,000 to $22,000
Okay.
all in. Projected resale is going to be $635,000. We're going to list it at $640,000, but we're giving ourselves a $5,000 cushion, just in case somebody wants to negotiate or whatever with us. And if we sell it for full price, great, but that's kind of based on there. Closing costs are around $24,000, and I projected around $16,000 in hard money costs. That's based on about a 3-month holding time.
90-day period.
Yep.
And that's for everything, right? When it comes down to like how long it'll take to get the property under contract and then actually close on the property.
Correct, yeah. So hopefully we'll beat that clock a little bit because
Yeah.
we're only going to be about 2 weeks in total rehab here.
Yeah.
Then depending on how quickly we sell it, if we sell it within 30 days, then we'll actually beat that 90-day clock by probably 10 days or so.
Yeah.
If I can sell it within the first week, then we'll probably beat that clock by 30 days, which will lower all of our stuff, right? It will lower all of our holding costs, our hard money fees, our utility bills, pool maintenance, yard maintenance, all that. It will lower all of those fees. But even with that being said, at 90 days, it puts our projected profit at $48,000
Sweet.
after all the expenses. So all the realtor fees, all the title fees, all the rehab, hard money costs, holding costs, electric, water, all of that, around $48,000.
Sweet. And just to do a full-on recap, when it comes down to like the repairs, one of the things that I'm kind of like taking into consideration is you said that this house from start to finish is pretty much a 2-week rehab, and this house is more than twice as big as that house that Nick and I flipped ourselves.
Right.
And when we did our rehab, it was almost essentially the same thing, other than us having to do countertops and the guest that kind of took 2 weeks to guess it up, but that was more on my fault. But it just shows the difference, like when you do have really good structure and really good experience, as you do, and your team of people that make it all happen, how you can take a much larger project and still do it in a much shorter period of time, which not only do you have this one, but if I'm not mistaken, you have like 7 projects.
Currently going, this included, so six other ones,
Yeah, so I think that's something that, again, being able to take a simple concept of, what it is that we learn from the real estate investors and real estate flippers that we work with, and being able to take, what we find so effective from what it is that they do, such as his organization and how he has his team built out, that really allows him to have a really good working system, that when they do take on a project from start to finish, it's just ongoing, right? And when it came down to the work that Nick and I were doing, Nick being in LA and flipping houses not being my main focus, it just shows how easily you can get just, you can lose track of time, and time is definitely money when it comes down to, just you owning the house, the overall expenses of holding costs if you have like a lender and stuff like that.
Even if you don't, you still have taxes, insurance.
Yep.
In this case, there's an HOA here, so we have HOA monthly fees, your utilities, and then also you have, the longer you hold a house too, the more possibility you have of something breaking, right?
Yep.
Water heater, an air conditioner, you know, whatever it might be, dishwasher, anything like that that could break, that just
Yeah.
happens. It
Yep.
just, you know, a sprinkler system, right? It just, things happen when you own the house. So the less time that we have these properties, the less risk we have.
I like that. And I think at least the goal for myself, especially after the first flip that I did, and you know, you kind of like allowing us to like shadow you along the way, was even with this project and knowing how many flips you have done, and you estimating that you had $15,000 of expected repairs is what you anticipated. The goal is never to have a perfect flip, at least none of mine. So that's you know, it's working towards becoming or working towards getting to as close to perfect as possible, meaning that, yeah, you know, you anticipated $15,000 in repairs, but once you saw that there was more than you expected, you made sure that you set yourself up for success by understanding the market, understanding what this house could be worth, and understanding what it was going to cost, you know, $20,000 or $22,000
Right.
into it, that you still had a good enough margin that you just had to, again, make use of the time that you did have. And it wasn't a perfect, in a sense, setup, but based off your experience. And I think just my biggest takeaway is taking your experience and how you were set up with certain obstacles, and how you just were able to like, okay, well, this is, you know, the obstacles that I'm presented. I'm just gonna find a solution for it and
Move on, right?
Move on.
That's all you can do, yeah. And you have to be able to build some of that into your every deal that you do. Because
Definitely.
like you said, everyone's not gonna be perfect. There's not one single one that I've done that's perfect. And some of them end up like this, where you end up a little bit more in budget, and other ones end up a little bit
much
less.
easier. Yep.
I mean, it just depends on what it is, but you never want to go into a property with such thin margins on it. But that all comes from experience, because if you just work your numbers as a new flipper, your numbers are going to be much different than what my numbers are, because I know what it is, like almost to the penny on every single flip, because I've done so many of them.
Yeah.
So it's that experience of knowing
Definitely.
what that is. And the biggest piece is the contractors, no doubt. I mean, somebody else could have gone into this house and spent $40,000 doing exactly what I did, and taken 3 months to do it, where I did it in $22,000 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's, again, like you said, it's that relationship with those contractors. And once you get that built, then the flips become much easier. That's definitely one of the hardest pieces of it.
Sweet. I like that. Well, guys, thank you guys again so much for watching. If you guys would like to stay connected, you guys are more than welcome to join our free investing group. That's going to be that first link down below. I hope that we earned your thumbs up. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.